Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing another player guide in my series of guides on the Marvel Contest of Champions, this time focusing on a older champ, Magik. She's been a bit outshined lately with the new Mystic champs that are in the game, but Magik is still my all-time personal favorite character. She's got some amazing abilities, so we're going to take a look at her pros, her cons, some gameplay, and where best to use her. So let's get started. So first we'll take a look at the Special 1 and Special 3. They both have the ability to nullify, and you have the ability to enter Limbo once you use your special attack. So let's get started. So first we'll take a look at the Special 1. It will nullify the last initiated buff that the opponent put up. This particular Aegon has 6 Furies. She uses her Special 1. Now he has 5 Furies. Now that's something to be aware of, is she only takes out 1 instance. So if the opponent has 5 armor buffs, for instance, and you use your Special 1, then he'd have 4 armor buffs. Now this particular champion here, he only has 1 Fury buff, as you see here. She uses her Special 1, and it clears the buffs. Now the great thing about the SP1 is when it actually does clear a buff, it does some extra energy damage. Also, it puts you in a state of limbo, which causes the opponent to degenerate just a little bit. Now here's a Venom. We're going to use our SP1. And it's going to clear the last buff that was initiated on Venom, which happens to be the precision buff, the little yellow circle. So she uses it, and it is cleared. Again, just 1 buff. And now we're going to move on to an X23. This X23 has 1 instance of regeneration going up. So I use my Special 1, and it clears the regeneration. Again, if she had 2 or 3 stacks of regeneration, I'd only clear 1 of them. Now, she can only clear buffs that are active, not passive, so you have to keep that in mind with the Special 1. So it's not a bad ability. You won't be using it a lot. Maybe when you're just trying to get rid of a buff that's quite annoying, that'd be a quick option to get rid of it. Again, here's Medusa. We know when she hits to 3 Furies, she will have the ability to auto-block. So we're going to look at taking out one of them just to kind of slow her down. So we'll use her Special 1, she has 2 Furies up, and now she has 1 Fury up. So it's a nice little ability. It's not the one that you'll be using quite often, but it can come in handy. So let's move on to the next. Now the Special 3 is a lot more powerful, especially against champs with a lot of active buffs, like you see here with this Venom. When she uses her Special 3, she'll nullify 100% all the active buffs that are presently on the opponent. For every buff that she removes this way, she actually gains attack. So the more buffs on the opponent, the better. The more attack, the more damage. They have to be active buffs. They can't be passive for this to work. So it works great on Aegon, Angela, Venom, any champ with a lot of buffs, or any node that grants a lot of buffs on the opponent as long as they're active. As you can see here, this particular group, he does not have his buffs up yet, so I'm holding my Special 3 and waiting for them basically to open up. So here they are. Now I can launch my Special 3 and do lots of damage. Another thing you should be aware of is her Special 1, Special 2, and Special 3 do not cause power in the opponent, which is a very nice ability, especially on power game nodes. So now we're going to move on to her Special 2, which is a Power Lock and Steal, probably her strongest feature in my opinion. It's very useful, probably one of the best power controls in the game, so let's take a look. So the Special 2 actually does 3 things. When you use your Special, you will go into a state of Limbo, so that means extra degeneration damage to the opponent. Plus, if you get struck, you have the ability to heal up after Limbo. The second thing is you will power steal from the opponent 33% of the power, which is pretty nice. And finally, you have a 85% chance to power lock the opponent for 9 full seconds. So after the Special 2, it's often quite easy to get back to Special 2 again before the opponent gets a chance to use their special attack. So you can keep this in a pretty good rotation. If you steal that 33% and it brings them down below the 0 power mark, and then you happen to do a Special 2 before they actually start getting power again, you actually gain the same amount of power you did initially, which is pretty sweet. The 85% power lock is pretty reliable. Sometimes it'll fail on champs like Ant-Man or Blade. And the power steal always works for 33%, so that's pretty sweet. Since Magik has a very nice Special 2 Power Lock and Steal, it makes her very powerful in Intercepting. So now we'll showcase the Special 2 Power Lock combination with the Intercepting. You do not want the opponent to have more than 1 bar of power while you're intercepting, because he can intercept you with a special attack. That's what makes Magik so good. She can power lock. So I do 4 hits, dash back, he runs at you, you go back in, do 4 hits, use your special attack. If he's up against the wall, you can sometimes get a quick hit in like you saw right there. Dash back, do the 4 hits, use your special attack, he gets up from the wall, you hit him right away, you dash back, and you can just do this over and over again. Now this works really, really well with aggressive opponents, usually opponents that are in the higher end content. If the opponent is passive, or maybe a lower end content, sometimes they don't want to run in, so you have to kind of rely on parrying sometimes. As you see, he didn't run in right there. So just be aware of that, but sometimes they're so aggressive you can just keep them in the corner for the whole fight. I also find that Magik is a pretty good interceptor without her power lock technique that I just showed you. She's got a pretty fluid motion, she's got that really high kick. I find it quite easy to intercept with her for the most part. I will admit I'm not bad at intercepting, but of all my champs, she's probably one of my top for intercepting. I also like Psylocke a lot for intercepting, but I find obviously that Magik has a little bit more usefulness in the actual content, so I use Magik a lot more. She's just very fluid, very fast, very easy to move, and I find that she works really, really well. And just remember that if the opponent is above a bar of power, don't intercept, because you could get hit by a special attack. So now we're going to move on from powerful intercepting and talk about the Limbo Awakening. This is her signature ability. It's a little bit different than the regular Limbo. The regular Limbo is when you use your special attack, you will be under the influence of Limbo during the special attack duration. But the way the Awakening Limbo works is every time that you gain a new bar of power, a threshold of power, you will go into Limbo for 3 full seconds, and during that time the opponent will take degeneration damage, and also you have the ability to heal if someone hits you during that Limbo phase and you happen to survive it after. So let's take a look at that. So any health that you lose while you're in Limbo, you actually have the ability to regain that health. First of all, you have to be in your Limbo phase either by using your special attack or going over a new bar of power. Right now I'm in Limbo phase, so Hyperion's going to do a whole bunch of damage to me right here. It looks like I'm at half health, but as you see, when my Limbo expires, I gain all that health back. He hits me again, but I went over a power bar and I gained a little bit of health as well, right there. So it's a very nice ability. Obviously, if the opponent kills you while you're in Limbo, you're not going to be able to actually survive that. You actually have to be alive after the damage is taken, and then you have to wait for that timer to finish, and then you can regain the health. So it's a very nice ability. Now there's 2 instances you can use it. One, obviously, if you just get hit and you happen to be in Limbo, you might gain some health back, which is great. And the other thing you can do is you can actually time it, like in Hyperion's case. Basically, you know he's going to use a special 3 when he hits the power bar, so if you can time your Limbo with his special 3, that means you'll be able to survive his attack. So it's a very, very nice ability. Just remember that any type of damage during your Limbo phase, you will have the opportunity to heal back up once the Limbo expires. Right now I'm taking normal frostbite damage, as you see here. Now I'm into the Limbo phase. I'm still taking frostbite damage, but pow, I just gained some healing. So it's a very, very nice ability for many, many reasons. So now we'll talk about a few things. We'll talk about her suicide masteries, her synergies, her war defense, and is she still good unawakened? First off, she's still good unawakened. Her special 1 will remove 1 buff. Her special 3 will remove all the buffs, plus will do a lot of damage on champs that have a lot of buffs up. Her special 2 is amazing. It still power locks and does power steal. What you'll be missing is your enhanced Limbo, so that's a bit of a drag, but it's not a deal breaker. Now that kind of flows into war defense because she kind of needs to be duped. She has to be awakened in war defense just because it's her degeneration damage that really causes the problem. And she does not work too well in the higher tiers just because most of the higher tier players will have counters for her like Gladiator Hulk or Blade. So she's more useful in the tiers that are lower where opponents might not have certain counters. So in regards to the suicide masteries, even though she's a non-immune champ to poison or bleed, she's actually quite good for suicides, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One, every time she uses a special 1 or special 2, a normal champ would take a 5% recoil damage, but since she's always in Limbo after a special, she actually can regain that recoil damage back after the Limbo expires. Also remember that the bleed and poison damage that you're taking while you're in Limbo phase will also be returned to you when the Limbo expires. So she's going to lose health a little bit slower than a normal champ would that has no immunities, which is a nice bonus. She's not perfect for suicides just because she's not immune to bleed or poison at all, but it's nice to know that Limbo can kind of slow it down for you. So I would suggest putting in some points into willpower or coagulate just to kind of help that if you plan to use suicides. So now we're going to take a look at Magik Synergies. A great site for checking this out is ontm.ai, or ontme as people know it. We're going to slip down to the synergies. She's got a lot of basic synergies, but she's got some good ones as well. One here with Juggernaut, she gets a critical rating. One here with Unstoppable Colossus and Colossus, she gains some health. Friends armor rating with Storm. Perfect block chance with Red Cyclops and Guillotine. This is a nice one, Enchanted Blades. Once per fight, Hemdall will intercede on your behalf, dash back and hold block for 1.5 seconds to gain a infinite duration precision buff, increase critical rating by 250. So it's a nice little bonus. Some more here for health with Colossus and Unstoppable Colossus. She gets a armor rating increased up to 330 based on Sunspot signature level. 130 armor rating with Magneto and Storm. This is a nice one here with Invisible Woman. Passive Fury, Prowess, Regeneration, Indestructible, and Limbo effects last 10% longer, so it's always nice to have a little bit longer Limbo. Critical damage rating rivals with Guillotine. Now this is my personal favorite. With Warlock, she gets a attack rating is increased by 50% while in Limbo. That's very, very nice. So when her special attacks will have a 50% attack increase, and those 3 seconds after while you're in Limbo, if you are awakened, will also be 50%. She does a lot more damage with the Warlock synergy. I tested it out on the Captain Marvel in Realm of Legends, and it took like 50 or 60 or maybe even 70 less hits to take out Captain Marvel with the synergy. So it really, really helps. Then we have teammates here with White Magneto, and finally, this is not a bad one either with Morningstar. While she's in Limbo again, she has a 500 critical rating and a 500 critical damage while Limbo is active. So again, having Morningstar and Warlock together, she does some serious damage while she's in Limbo. So those are some pretty nice synergies. So make sure to check them out and see what you think. Next, I want to talk about masteries, in particular the Mystic Dispersion. Mystic Dispersion is very useful for Magik and for other Mystic champs. Right now I have it set at 4 points out of 5. Mystic champions gain 8% power each time a buff is nullified or the duration expires on the opponent. This is pretty good because every time that I nullify a buff or buffs with my special 1 or special 3, I can get power back. And if the buffs just expire naturally on their own, I get power back. So champions that have lots and lots of buffs, you can get power back very, very quickly. I have 4 points in it right now, which gives me 8%. I kind of find the sweet spot for just regular day fighting is actually MD3, Mystic Dispersion 3 at 5%. 4 can be a little tricky because sometimes you want to do your SP2 and you gain lots of power all of a sudden, and then you're already at SP3 right away. I have it at 4 right now because I plan to work on the champion boss in Act 6.2, so I want my Mystic Dispersion pretty high so I can get power quickly. 5 I used to have before they changed it. I haven't bought it again. It seems a little too powerful for power gain, like a little bit too fast, a little bit too quickly. So I'm going to skip on MD5 for now. It definitely would help in defense if you put her on like a power game node or something. Her power might really skyrocket for opponents that have buffs. But just keep it in mind, I'd suggest 3 points at a minimum, maybe 4 points, and I think 5 is pushing it. I think 1 or 2 points is too low, it just doesn't really do much effect. So I'd probably at least put 3 in if you can. So now we're going to take a look at some cons. The very first one is she's not a huge damage dealer. She's not horrible by any means, but she's not Corvus or a Domino type level. Her main strengths are obviously her Power Lock and Power Steal. Yes, she can do some big damage against champs with a lot of buffs that are active, so that's very nice, but for her regular hits, they're somewhat average. So if you could bring in some champs like Warlock or something to enhance her actual attacks, it could help. The next con we're going to take a look at is she has no immunities at all. She's not immune to bleed, poison, incinerate, frostbite, nothing. So these days you see a lot of nodes and a lot of opponents that have these abilities. She does not have any of them. Yes, she'll take maybe a little bit less damage from them when she's infected by them because of her Limbo, but you just have to be aware that she's going to be a little bit hindered on stuff like bleed nodes, poison nodes, or against champs that have certain abilities that she will not be immune to. So the next con we're going to talk about is her power lock can fail. You have to remember it's an 85% and it can be affected by ability accuracy reduction. Sometimes against champs like Ant-Man or Blade with his danger sense, it will fail a lot more. So you just have to be aware of that if you're counting on it. Like if you're going to maybe take an SP3 to an SP2, that once in a while it will fail. So you just have to be aware of it. Most times, like 19 out of 20, you're going to be okay. But that 1 out of 20, you know, it could take you out. And the final con, which I've touched base before, is on war defense in the higher tiers. She's not going to be very good. Yes, she'll get the occasional kill, but for the most part, most opponents will have a perfect counter for her, like Gladiator Hulk, or perhaps Archangel, or perhaps Blade with Danger Sense. You can take her out pretty easily, and obviously if she's not duped, it's really easy to take her out. So that's just to keep in mind that she's going to be good for a while until you get up to the higher levels, and then she won't be as great. So there you have it, my friend. This is my little guide on Magik. Yes, she's an older champ, but unlike many of the other older champs, she's still quite useful in today's content. She's just got so many abilities going for her. She's got the Power Steal, the Power Lock, the SP1 Nullify, the SP3 Nullify of all buffs, plus the extra attack per buff taken down. She's got the Limbo, which can give degeneration to the opponent, plus it can save your life and give you some extra healing back if you get hit during the Limbo phase. She's just an all-around very good champ. Yes, there's a few things she doesn't have. No regeneration except for her Limbo. No immunities, which is a bit of a drag. Yes, she's being outshined a little bit by champs like Clairvoyant, Dr. Doom, and so forth. But I still think she's quite valuable. That Power Lock is just amazing for me. I've been using it for years. I still use this champ all the time. I still think she's a very good rank 4, rank 5 option. I love the Warlock synergy if you can get it. It's just a great synergy, and Warlock himself is a great champ, so having those two together is a very nice attack team. So there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and tell me what you think of the video and the champ. And take care, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.
Target identified. Analysis complete. Please subscribe.